titles, those options are available to you through the Microsoft Teams ellipses. There are some accessibility options there. So again, I'm hoping that you can see my screen. If you see, give me a little reaction if you see my screen. Thank you so much, Krista. All right. Again, this is the same training that we offered last week, so feel free to drop off if this is something that is that is not of import to you. But thank you so much for taking the time and dropping in. A little bit of housekeeping. Yes, we do still have the cms.colorado.gov. That is our website, and we have training resources there. Those training resources will be in flux as we continue to build up our new features in Drupal 10. More content will be made available there. Again, we already mentioned that the session will be recorded and will be made available. And we also ask that you make space and you take space and in a respectful way that you present your opinions to the group. The way that we're capturing that information is through the chat. And you can also raise your hand as we are going through these slides. I am so sorry. Alrighty, so this is our loose agenda. What we are hoping to cover today is how to sign on as an authenticated user, and we're going to access the content module. From there, I'm going to show you how to add a basic page and a landing page, how to create a layout content type, and then what we want to do is make sure that we're able to create a layout by adding a section and a block and editing a layout in the same way. And then we want to make sure that we're able to locate these in the media library and that you are able to edit those from the media library and also from the web browser viewer. So with your permission, I'm going to click over to another site. So allow me one moment. And I think can you see my screen? Can I get a thumbs up maybe? I think I am sharing my screen. All right, so this is a familiar website. Thank you so much, Chad, thank you. Here is cms.colorado.gov. This is the site that we use to provide all of our training resources. And we recently moved this one over to Drupal 10, so I wanted to use this website that is so familiar to y'all for the training session today. So your authentication will remain the same. We are still using the Google single sign-on, and there are some visual indicators that you are an authenticated user. So for instance, if I were to open another tab and go to demo.colorado.gov, you would not see, oh, I am authenticated on both. So let me go ahead and log out real quick so that you guys could see the difference. So the administrative bars, the black and the silver, are no longer present. When I do sign in, I go to the end and I add user/user, and it will provide me with my Google single sign-on. However, if I wanted to use my password and my user and my password, I still could do that. So this is how it will look when you're logging on to a Drupal 10 website. This is not I've done a lot of staring and comparing, and I don't see any visual cues that are different from here. So it is mainly the same. So again, onto the cms.colorado.gov, you will still have your visual indicators that you are authenticated. You can always toggle these if you just wanted to have more screen space based on the size of your display. And you can still add shortcuts. If there are any different content types that you use on frequent basis or things that you want to have as a shortcut, you could go ahead and populate that in this little shortcut bar. But if you wanted to look at the modules, that is when you will use the secondary silver color menu. Excuse me. And these modules are based on the different roles that you have been assigned for your responsibilities in this project. So if you are an entity project manager or a person that has been assigned the responsibility of managing people, you will have that opportunity right here in this module, and you will click on the module. And again, in staring and comparing from Drupal 9 to Drupal 10, it looks exactly the same. You could still sort by the role, by the status, and you could filter. If you have to modify by executing different actions, you could do that here. So these functions have not changed. You could do bulk functions by selecting people from the table and applying those changes in the actions dropdown. So that is still the same. Depending again on what roles you have on your particular organization, you will have different, it depends, because some of you will have content editor, content manager, or content administrator. And we do have a little cheat sheet to show you what those roles look like in the event that you needed to kind of assess what roles to assign to a particular team member. And this is what I was referring to. So based on the role that you have, that's the number of modules that you will have here at the top. Okay, so let's just go back over here. First thing we want to make sure is that we're able to access the content module. So one of the things that might be different is the dropdown that we used to have, in which you can add content and add media. It is not there at the moment. I have put in a request for us to add this. But in order for you to access your content, you want to click on the module. And once you have clicked on the module itself, you will have your media library. And in the media library, we have a host of different folder files. The two that you're going to be using the most will be the content. And in the content here, you're able to see this table at the bottom with all of the content types from all of the authors in all of the different statuses, right? The default sort is still going to be the updated date, so the last time that I touch the content type. Okay, so if you wanted to sort this, you could still sort by content type. You could always, excuse me, sort by the published status, and this one, well, this is not utilized at the moment. Another thing is that if you wanted to sort by the particular user, you could start to type in the user and all of the content by that user will populate on the table. You're just sorting by these parameters. What I would like to show is that because we have a new content type, it is going to be shown right here under layout. So if we were to create a layout, we could insert out a layout right here. This is also true. All of the other article types, content types like the articles, alerts, basic pages are still here. This has carried over from our Drupal 9. So do we have any questions so far? Does this still look familiar to y'all? Okay, I'm trying to go slow, Krista. I'm trying to slow my tempo this time. Alrighty. So again, if we wanted to add a piece of content, we want to click on the content module. From the content module, we're going to click on the pill menu that says add content. And all of those content types that are available to us are going to populate here. For the example, we're going to do a basic page. And when we are adding this, we have the mandatory field, which is the title. So I am just going to say testing basic page. And I already have done this because I do training with you guys so much. So to differentiate, how about I say 08 November 23? Okay, and then that is the only mandatory field that I have to create a basic page. The features for rows and cards are still going to be here. If we do an equal card, we can add the different types of cards that we have. These are your options here. Now, this on the left has always been your building, like the content part with your moderated status here. You can attach files, you can add this to your library of layouts. Then here at the right, you have the more publishing type of features. You have a revision log that we have not lost. We have menu settings, so you can assign a menu link from the page level because this is a basic page content type. And you can nest that anywhere within your menu structure. So you have access to the structure components from the basic page, still using rows and cards. You have meta, and you still have at the bottom, this is a big scroll, give me a second. You still have the ability to modify your URL if needed. Okay, authoring information will still be the same. It's going to give you a timestamp, and the author will be the operator who is executing here. And you have the same promoting options that we had in the past. Okay, so these are all of the features that we have that have not been deprecated. We have the ability to leverage a featured image on this basic page. We can create relationships. We have search enhancements, and we can add a web form if we wanted to here. This is all within the basic page. Okay, the WYSIWYG is here. Some of the labels have different icons, but the functions remain. I think this one is the font awesome. These are the icons. So yeah, this is all the same. If we wanted to publish this, again, just make sure that you change the moderation status to publish if you're ready to do so. If not, you could save this as a draft and you will still have that pink. The pink background is a visual indicator that this is in a draft moderation state. If you wanted to change that to publish, you could apply. And once you apply the moderation state, it will give you the confirmation that it has changed. And I'm going to delete this content because we don't need this here. But one thing to note is that this action cannot be undone. So I cannot retrieve deleted pages. Make sure that when you are ready to delete, it is, yes, I saw something flash about the button. I put in a request. I think that was old. I think it flashed super quick. But yes, we have a request to put in the buttons back because those did not come over. So far, I think I saw it flash. Okay, gotcha. Okay, so that is all about the basic page. Do we have any questions about landing pages? The landing page is a content type that could be leveraged because it has its own footer and it has its own Jumbotron option. To add the layout content, the landing page content type, you will click on the content module, you will click on the add content, and then you will add landing page. Landing pages do not have a body. By that I mean is that you will leverage rows and cards straight away. So when we had the basic page, we had the little WYSIWYG in the body section that stacks on top of your rows and cards, kind of north to south. With a excuse me, with a landing page, we start to build using our rows and cards. We still have the ability to save it to the layout library. We could change the moderation state, and then we have the little publishy type of things on the right-hand side that have not changed. So now I'm gonna just go back into the content library and I'm gonna select the new feature that we have, which is the layout. It is here. It's all an alphabetical sort. That's just how we sort things. So it's gonna just fall alphabetical underneath the landing page. But this is the new layout content type. This is a living organism. We're continuing to develop this. So I'm just gonna say here sample layout, and let me just change the date. Today is 08 November, correct? And there we go. So here you could feature you could leverage a featured image from your media library if you wanted to do so. We have a lot of different images here, but you could leverage that if you were interested. And then this is where the layout will remind you of the basic page because you still have the ability to have the body, right? You could go and get, I'm going to get some Lauren Ipsum here for you so that I could populate some content here in the body section so we could see how it displays. Okay. So this is the body section, similar to the basic page. For edits, you could use the WYSIWYG, which is what you see is what you get. And then you could make sure that the check mark is here for publish. If this is something that you are not ready to make public, just make sure you uncheck it. This is one difference from when we had the basic page. The basic page default is to be saved as a draft, whereas, excuse me, the default on the landing page is to be published. So that's just one of the things that I noticed when I was preparing for training sessions and as I continue to create content. Here is where it is the difference is that the default here is to be published. So just be mindful of that. When I hit save, the page is not going to have that pink background. It's going to say that the content has been created, and this is what it will look like right here. That is my lorem ipsum that we added together. To access the layouts on this simple sample layout page, I'm going to click on this ribbon, the layout tab, and the layout tab is where I'm going to be able to leverage all of the sections and the blocks. You will notice that this is the body. It has a little dotted or dashed line around the container that indicates that that is my first section, and it's section 1. If I wanted to add a section here, this dialog is going to populate towards the right-hand side, and I could determine how many columns I want to have This can always be modified, but it will allow me to select the number of rows, the number of columns that I have. Now, once I select the number of columns, it's going to ask me for the distribution of those columns within that section. So if I wanted for it to be distributed equally, which is language that we use in rows and cards, excuse me, I will go 50-50. But if I wanted to just have something that is a little bit more dynamic for the desktop user, I could go ahead and do a 33-67 or the reverse. Or if I wanted for that little sliver to be very thin, I could do a 25-75. For the sake of the example, we're just going to do a 50-50 and we're just going to save the section. Now, as I scroll to the bottom, you will notice that the body that was in that previous menu is here as configure section 1, and then what we added together here is that configure section 2. It has populated a single block in each one of these columns. So here what I'm going to do for the example is add a block, and on this menu I'm going to create a content block. For it, I'm going to do an open embed, and here I'm just going to do sample embed. Now, I'm going to find a piece of content. I think you guys already know that my poison is the tiny desk. So let me see who we can find here. Or even, let's just do a map or something different. Let's do Google Maps. Let's do Google Maps because I don't want this to go and have a super loud volume. So for embedding content, and I'll circle back, I should have it on another sample page. But let me go ahead and add a map real quick, and then I'll find a very quiet way to get a video. All right, that is the body right there. And then I'm going to go ahead and add the address, which is our street address here in downtown Denver. So that is 1999 Broadway, right? And I'm just going to leave it as is. I'm not going to use any of these styles for the map. I'm just going to use the default. You scroll to the bottom and add the block. And there is my map. Now, if I wanted to add a secondary block, I'm just going to grab some lorem ipsum. I'm going to go back to here. I'm going to add a block, and I'm going to select a simple block just to show you the difference. There's a simple block. And then here, I am just going to put the information. Oh, it's a paragraph. Let me remove those there. And I'm going to save it. Now that I have added the body and my two blocks, I want to go up here to the top, and I want to make sure that I save my changes. And there you will see that just like when we had the body with the rows and cards at the bottom, you will still have the body and the layout, and then you will have the sections and the blocks. Do we have any questions so far as to how this went?
Yeah, we do have a couple of questions I think you can hit on, Cecilia, if you'd like to.
Absolutely.
There's one here from Krista. She was wondering if we can talk about, or if you can maybe show kind of best practices for uploading and linking to files.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So what I'm going to do real quick is I am going to poke in the media library, and I am going to see if in my media I have a document that I want to reference. I should have something called simple. I tell you what, let's just go ahead and add a file together. So we're going to go to the media, and we're going to add a type of media that is called a document. And I am going to point to my own. Let me point here, and let me find. Then I think I have something. I do have a sample document. There we go. So what you're doing, Krista, is that you are going through content. You are looking at the file folder that says media, and then you're going to add media, and then it's going to give you a few. You're going to do a few of these options, and you're going to select document, right? And then you're going to go to your computer, to your device, and you're going to find the item right there. And then you're going to give it a name. For the sake of the example, I'm just going to copy paste this here so we know it's called sample document. We run the chance that I have done this demo so many times that the document might be there. Yeah, that is the workflow for it. Now, you do have the ability to add related tags. So if you were a municipality and you had agendas or meeting notes or something like that, you could use that as a related tag. And just like in libraries, we have controlled language and subject headings. This is what this is. And I used to be a librarian, so if this is something that is interesting to you, I would love to do a deep dive on how you could use related tags to sort your content, because it creates categories that will enable you to group content of various types. So if you have ordinances or rules and regulations or cats, that could be a related tag, and you could have /category / the category name, and it will aggregate everything for you, similar to how you find events and contacts on your existing CMS. So that is not new, it's carrying over from Drupal Guide. So at this point, what you may want to do is just go ahead and save. There is the danger that this might already be there and it may not save, but it isn't. So let's go back into content. We're going to grab that sample layout that we are creating together, and we're going to edit. And then here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do an anchor text. Thank you for your patience with me. I am still under the weather. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight my anchor text, and then the second step is to find on your WYSIWYG, Krista, what you're going to do is find the link button, and then you're going to start to search for your item. So it should populate when you start. You see how it starts to search? So I'm going to go ahead and you see how I had 2 sample documents? I had to be more creative and call my documents something else. But this is the relative path, meaning that it is pointing to your media library. It's not an absolute path, something that is not in your website database. We use that interchangeably, but you will select, and then there is your link as I scroll to the bottom. And Krista, if we needed to do a deeper dive, I am happy to schedule some time with you and your team to do a longer training. But what I recommend is always point to the document to make sure that the display is pointing to it, and test it before you're going to have this in front of constituents. But that is how you do an anchor text. Does that answer your question?
It does, but I think part of my question is Drupal best practice versus CDPHE best practice. We've been encouraged to put all of our files onto our on-base database and link to them from there. And I don't think you can speak to that, because I think that's maybe internal to us or maybe some other state agencies, and I don't really fully understand why we're supposed to do that. So if you know the answer, or if somebody here, maybe Josie's here, can answer that, that would be helpful. So, and then another kind of a side question, when you were talking about the images, I went through the style guide really quickly. Can we add, or can you provide to us what sizes those images are? So in the event we need to create something ourselves or want to upload a photo, we can make sure that it's the correct size. Oh, there it is. I knew it had to live someplace. If somebody could stick that in the chat, that would be fabulous. Thank you. I appreciate that on both counts.
Absolutely. Now, maybe we have to take the conversation about files offline, because I don't, that's not something I can answer. But yeah, let me circle back with you, Krista, and maybe you could speak with Josie, and we could provide some feedback off this conversation, because I don't have an answer for that. I apologize, but I do appreciate the questions. Alexa, what's next?
Thank you.
I think kind of piggybacking off of this, Joel had a question. Is it still possible to directly upload or attach a document on a basic page, not through the media library?
Yeah, that is also, it's the same.
Cool.
But yeah, it's the same. So it's when you're embedding, that doesn't change. So you're right on, Joel. It's the same process. Mhm.
Um, from Olga, is there a button feature in the WYSIWYG?
So the button feature didn't come over from Drupal 9 to Drupal 10, but I did speak to Barry and Alfredo, and I put in a ticket in their research and development, Alexa, because we had 4 cases and I was pleasantly surprised that this is a a feature that is requested. So we're gonna make sure that after the migration, we get some research and development so we can bring it back.
All right, I'm going to jump over to layouts now. In layouts, is there a way to add a background to a heading, like in the cards, but not the entire body? It sounds like Trisha is working on the transition from rows and cards and was wondering whether she can replicate that look she currently has on her site.
You know, Trisha, I think for that one, we may need to do a one-on-one. If you still have the link to my availability, because I would like to take the time to study what you have done in rows and cards and see how we can interpret that over. And I think that on the fly here, it might take me longer than what I think would be prudent for the rest of the group. But again, Trisha, do you just give me a thumbs up if you have the link to my availability? If not, I'll just she has it. Awesome. And it's on my signature, so everybody has that link. It's not a secret. But if you need for me to float that to the top, actually I could just put it in the chat after this, and we will make sure that I'm looking at a use case and I can match that the best way possible in layouts.
Thank you, Cecilia. I think that's all the questions we had in chat. I see some good discussion happening about the document management. So, yep.
All right.
Oh, we do have one actually. Sorry. From Francie, what happens to our current buttons when we upgrade?
The buttons are still, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, given the lack of that feature, like you noted in D10 right now. So
Yeah, it was very interesting. They're still there. They're still there, but the WYSIWYG didn't carry over the button feature. So I had one of our FPD's fire protection districts. We had conversation through the partner support queue, and what we did, which I think was brilliant for her to bring that up, was to just copy the code, the source code, and she recreated the button, which is what I would have given her. And Victoria was amazing because she's the one who pointed out that deficit, that we didn't have the button. And in conversation, what we found is the little snippet for the button, and she pasted it into the new content that she was populating on her page. So there is a workaround. I could provide that to you on need to know basis. If you're leveraging buttons and you want to see that, I can provide that snippet to you. Yeah, it's something that we need to bring back. Are there any additional feedback or questions?
yes, one more from Joel. The format cleaner button in the WYSIWYG. Happy to see that it's back, but it sounds like it might not work. Is that a known issue?
I don't think so, but if it is, let me just grab an index card real quick and make this note for the developer team about the format cleaner, because we tested. But I need to verify that this format cleaner was one of the features that we ran either manual or automated testing for this. So Joel, let me circle back to you on this and for the whole group, because I don't think that this was a feature that I saw automatically tested.
Francie has her hand up. Go ahead, Francie.
Hi there, Celia. I hope you feel better soon. I hate that cold feeling. So
Thank you.
I have a current redesign going for one of our websites that's not public facing yet because it's still in beta testing, but I do have like a hero on the rows and cards. I have the hero image behind some cards.
Okay.
Is there going to be a way to do background images with the layout feature?
That is an interesting one because that was a rows and cards specific row. And I am not certain that it is that we could reinterpret that in layouts. But let me see if I could layer blocks and create one in which we have the two of them combined. If I could do a custom block like we used to.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think it's because, those are rows and cards specific features. So I'm going to see if it could be recreated in layouts. But I saw some feedback about discouraging. It flashed really quickly. Let me go back to the chat tab. That is a consideration, Krista. For anything accessibility, I truly believe that the subject matter experts for everything accessibility will be the Colorado Office of Information Technology. I mean, between Becky and Laurie and Jason and all of the team over there, they are subject matter experts. And I think most of the agencies now are onboarding accessibility staff members, accessibility specific resources. So I would not be able to provide an answer, Krista, as to accessibility because it will be out of scope, being that my team is developing the solution and then the accessibility is the best practices type of deal. But to answer Francie's question, I do not know that the hero row is something that is available to us in layouts because layouts are sections and blocks. So if that is something that I could interpret for you, I'm super curious to see how can I layer it, and then we will address if it's accessible or not. So
awesome. And Krista, I'm happy to talk to you offline about my solution around that. It's not embedded text. It's text on top of an image, and it was tested very well with the Blind Institute. So we've already run that page through manual testing. So happy to talk offline.
Yeah, Krista, in the rows and cards, when you're selecting a row, there is something called a hero row, and the hero row will allow you to have two layers. The first layer is an image, and you will use the 1920 by 450 dimensions of the image so that it covers the entire row. And then you have the ability to add the secondary layer, which is your different cards within the row, which will be your background. So being that the rows are accessible, I don't see conflict, but it will be out of scope for me. So again, thank you, Trisha. I did see your meeting request. I'll accept it in a minute. But yes, yes to both. I'm gonna look at hero rows for Francie and Krista. I think you should maybe talk to your accessibility person or sidebar with Francie and the Office of Information Technology. Do we have any additional questions, Alexa?
We do not, but I was thinking that maybe, we could sidebar with both Francie and Trisha to kind of learn about their current use cases around rows and cards, because I think we've been searching for some of those scenarios as well. So, yes.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to open it up to the floor. If there is any feedback, the good, the bad, the ugly, remember, through feedback we grow. That is just my personal motto. If I don't know that something needs addressing, I would not be able to address it. So whatever feedback you have for me, for my team, for the company, do let us know. I have a special request to this group of users. I know this is a small group, but if you have any questions, any concerns, anything you need from us, that you reach out through partner support. Because partner support is a way in which more than one individual will have visibility. And if I'm heads down in partner support, I may miss your email and it might be 48 hours before I get to you. So please, 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 let's go ahead and get the partner support. I did see something flash about Open Embed. If you don't mind, let's go and find that tiny desk and I'll show you how to do it. I'm just trying to find something that is not too out there. Okay, let's do Jackie. All right, so if you could still see my screen, what I am attempting to do is to mute because we don't need the clapping. But I'm going to go into the share function and I'm going to look down here for embed. And it tells me that it is copied. I don't know that you can see this because it's super fast, but some of the platforms will pop up another dialog in which you copy and paste the embed code. Some of them would just give it to you like right there. So in order for me to add, oh, she meant images. Oh my goodness, did I get that right? Let me add this real quick and then we'll circle back. Okay, so let me add a little block here. And then there will be the open embed block option. And then I'm going to call this one, Tiny Desk. And then we're going to scroll to the bottom, and then I'm going to read thoroughly your question. All right, so the question, can you talk about embedding images and media? I think the functionality has changed. Okay, so when we're inserting items from the media library and we're using the WYSIWYG like in the body, we have this icon that is a little, it looks like a little picture like where you have in your other platforms. Am I getting close to what you're asking, Olga?
Yeah, so actually I was embedding media,
Okay.
and when I embed media, it only embeds in one single size, and before you had options, you could do a thumbnail, a full-size image.
I see. Okay, let me see if I could find that feature. If not, that is something that I could definitely put in a ticket, because we used to be able to right click and have the different properties for it. Okay.
Yeah, that's the only thing that happens for me now too, and so it kind of changes how we can do layouts.
That is correct. Okay, it allows me to enter the caption, but that is not what we are looking for. We're looking for sizes. And this is in the editor. This is in this CK editor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a ticket to look at the features that we have in D9, in which we could do that right click and just center it and select the large, medium, even by the pixel size. So yeah, it was more robust than what this is. So yeah, I'm going to screenshot this real quick.
And for now, would you recommend inserting images then as a card? Mm-hmm. Is there more functionality there?
Yes, but Olga, let me circle back with you once I chat with the developers, with our software engineers, to make sure, make sure that this feature is currently here, because I know that there is a lot that we could continue to add to the CK editor, and this is just the beginning of our roadmap with D10. So I know that things are always going to iterate and change and improve, but this one to me is kind of a biggie. So I already took a screenshot. I'm going to share this with the team, and I'm going to keep this open so I can share the node where we're tested. But do we have any additional questions? And thank you, Olga, because that is amazing feedback.
I have a couple others too, but I can just submit this through the partner support. Is that Olga, or that's a different voice? Is that Sorry, Olga? That was Olga for a second, but I interrupted somebody, so I'm gonna not talk anymore.
Well, send them to partner support, and I'll get back to you. If it's more than 48 hours, just let me know, because we have a system in which they get through the hopper. But send me that question through partner support, and I'll circle back to you. And I'm gonna give you some follow-up after I ask the guys about the embed image features on the CK editor.
So this is Francie with Department of Revenue, if I can jump in.
Sure.
Okay, great. So my second question is involving accordions. And I know right now we can only use the accordions that's built into the WYSIWYG editor right now, because the Rows and Cards feature is going away. After speaking with the Blind Institute, what makes the Rows and Cards accordions more accessible is the fact that it's got the collapse and expand all feature button. And I was wondering if we can bring that feature back to the WYSIWYG and somehow get that coded in on the back ends, because that was the main feature they said that makes those more accessible for them. And the WYSIWYG feature is, they said it's not a deal breaker. It's just more of a, it's like a C- score if you were to grade it, compared to Rows and Cards with the expand all, collapse all feature. So yes, if I could ask for that to be incorporated, that would change everything with accordions.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
No, absolutely. And again, guys, this feedback only allows us to grow. So thank you so much for doing that research, Francie. And it is interesting because the improvements that we have may not still have these accordions to where you want them. But I do know that Barry has, he is super dedicated to making sure that these accordions become accessible. And I'm going to share this information with him and with his team.
Thank you.
Sure. Are there any additional questions? Anything else that I could do for y'all today? And Alexa, thank you so much for taking notes for me. Once I get all of those action items, I'm going to forward those to the Drupal team and come back. Yeah, the migration schedule. I saw a question flash through. Yes, yes, we have been addressing the sites on a site-by-site basis. The team is already migrated. I think we did 120 or more than that sites, and those entity project managers or points of contact for those websites have been notified. So if you are on the batch that is going this week, those notifications will be sending out towards end of business. Between Alexa, Dave, and myself, we are communicating out to all of our community of users about the status of the updates. But yes, the update is still, I think we're halfway through. Our target is to be done by the end of the month. So yeah, if you had any specific questions. Okay, I hear this thing chiming. If you have anything specific, make sure that you put a partner support ticket so that the team that is supporting me with this upgrade could find your particular website and provide a specific update as to what your date is, if your files have been moved, if your website is moved, and all of that stuff. Because there's different movable pieces to the upgrade. We have to move your files, and we have to move your images, and we have to move your database, and it all syncs into the production environment. So if you have a particular question, just make sure you submit something to partner support, and then we will make sure that we identify the website. Now, I don't know if Josie from CDPHE is on the call, but she had the most interesting feedback because we didn't realize in the beginning that there are a handful of you guys that are entity project managers for multiple websites. So if you have a group of websites, and this was amazing. She sent me this note and I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't think about that. If you have 6 or 7 websites and I send you 3 different emails, you're not going to know for which website that is. So that's the request. If you have multiple sites and you wanted specific updates, just let us know and we'll go ahead and make sure that we provide you dates matching each one of your URLs, each one of your websites.
Cecilia, if they're scheduled to be upgraded next week, when will we be sending out notice about their content freeze? Like just that general reminder of please pause any content starting now.
There were specific websites that had that message. It was CDPHE, HICBUF, DOR. And for those, I'm going to be notifying you personally because we know that those are high touch websites. So we had that group added to the week of the 13th. So what we're asking is that on the 13th, I'm going to be messaging you directly. So we're talking about those large sites like HICBUF, CDPHE. CDPHE, we already moved to the 22nd. I spoke already with Josie. I don't know if she's on the call still. But if it's Joel, that will be a one-on-one conversation because of the volume of the site. We had to take you off of the regular vanilla sites. And that's a conversation that is occurring between Joel and us here at Tyler, specific to the amount of files. But if you do need for us to support you with moving content from your D9 over to D10, just let me know, put something on my calendar, and I'm happy to help you move any content that needs to be put up during the time of the freeze. I am totally happy to do that just because of the volume of your size, the volume and size of your website. You have a special, yes, you have a special date. And also for all of the DOR websites, those are going the week on the 13th, and we are having a special group of resources specific to those large sites. So those are, I'm going to sidebar with all of y'all. Absolutely, absolutely. You would be surprised the number of files. We thought that it was mainly our government agencies that had a bunch of files, but then we started to go into the towns and municipalities, and we were overwhelmed with the amount of files that the towns and municipalities had. And it was just like a different level of awareness that not because of the type of agency, it will match the number of files. So we appreciate your patience as we're moving all of these files, images, and databases over to D10. Do we have any additional feedback in the chat?
I think we just need to sidebar internally about collecting some site lists together. So that's it.
Yep. For those who have multiple sites, yes. Absolutely. But again, I really appreciate your time. Again, I am a resource to you. If you needed to schedule a one-on-one with me or with anyone on our team, just let us know. We're happy to do that. If there aren't any additional questions, our next training session, it will be the same content that we covered today, and it will be in 2 weeks from today. Again, if you have any questions, please forward those to partner support so that I have additional project managers keeping an eye on the partner support during this upgrade to make sure that we get a good response time to your questions. Alexa, do you have any words for the team? Do we have any additional Tyler leadership that may have some words for the team?
No, I don't have anything. Thank you, Cecilia. This was very good. Thank you.
All righty. Well, I guess we're going to say goodbye for now. And again, use partner support because we have amazing project managers there waiting to answer your questions. Okay? Thank you, guys. Have a wonderful day. Bye, Sharon. Thank you, everyone.